I'm going to change it. I am Juan Mayor, and I am a signature Chibson guy. If John Mayer can get a sponsorship, then the original should get the best sponsorship in the world, which is Chibson, baby. The greatest challenge in my musical career is distancing myself from John Mayer. Every time I'm walking through a CVS at Walgreens, and I hear this John Mayer, and I have to just get punched in the stomach over and over and over again. Everywhere I go, I hear these songs taunting me. It's like as if John is telling me, hey, Juan, I stole your music and there's nothing you can do about it. I would come up with an idea for a song, I would write it down, and then within days, I would hear that song on the radio. It's like, how could he have known, How does he do it? Because I'm sitting there, I write music from my heart, from my soul. It comes out to me onto the paper. One day I found a bug in my house and I realized John Mayer has bugged my entire house. Of course. Come in. Come in. Come in. Come in. Come in.
Hey, hello. We are back once again in the incredible Meaningful Times with Friends, episode 30. Feels like 30 years. We are here. We have Spoolie D, the Nathan Nation, and we are ending an era for a name that the group embraced except for one, and it was his name, and we are retiring it this week. We can combine it with a sort of an apology. Sometimes jokes go too far, people. And when they do, Meaningful Times with Friends, we're accountable. What was a joke that we thought would be embraced by all wasn't. And over time, came to a head. So we are officially retiring the name Jason the Art Lord. It was done out of respect, completely out of respect, but out of respect for our friend, who is in fact the Art Lord. We will no longer be using the name Jason the Art Lord in standard operating procedure. We will still refer to him as the Art Lord. And we apologize for getting on his nerves with the name. But I now present to you Merely Jason. So welcome, Merely Jason. And I think this name will stick, too.
Thank you.
I don't know how many weeks it was or how many episodes. But I had to say it, the Art Lord had a good run. So any other apologies, by the way? It's been a few weeks, so I'm not sure. Apologies to the audience, because we've had a lot of shift-ups in who's on the show recently, and we want to also send our condolences to the mother nation of Nathan Nation.
Yeah, my mom's husband, Ron, had been in ill health since about April or May. Had kind of a wild ride there for a while, but about 2 weeks ago from this recording, had a couple of minor surgeries and just wasn't in proper health to really withstand it. And so he passed away pretty quickly there. So I missed the last record because I had to go out, obviously, and take care of family stuff. So most of that's sorted out now. So we should be back full strength going forward here.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for letting the backup friends. They had a great time, too. So, and that episode is up there if you want to check that out. If you're watching this, if you're like somebody who's like, I want to see these new friends, I like the OG friends. Well, still check them out, man. They're not a bad bunch. Anyway, all right. No other apologies, correct?
Sorry for calling Migos mumble rap. I misunderstood my trap versus mumble rap situation. So if I offended anybody in that regard, I'm sorry, I guess.
I think that apology just goes straight to Dan Lactose.
Okay. Dan, sorry. I'm not as knowledgeable in hip-hop as you are. Thank you.
I don't think he's even that offended by that as much as just the fact that we picked that song.
Fair enough.
Not a fan, from what I understand. I do have another apology. It's not just the name. Apologies also to Merely Jason. Sometimes we here at Meaningful Times with Friends, we come up with our topics. This is a pretty well-oiled machine now. Been doing this for a little over a year. We got a little dialed in. We have our list of topics. We have topics that are fresh off of our heads and all that. But we didn't check in. Closed mouth doesn't get fed, and a closed mouth also can have food shoved right in that motherfucker if you're not careful. And that's kind of what we did to Merely Jason with the last episode of the OG Friends with the topic of sports and the Olympics. And it was just too much. It was too much for merely Jason, and not just one, but two topics that, if you watch the episode, yeah, it got a little heated. Apologies to merely Jason for putting you through that.
Yeah.
Swear to God, man. Try to do
I call special treatment on this one.
What do you call? What's that?
Well, there's no bigger fan on this planet of Jason than myself. Well, perhaps my mother, but we all roll with it. And like Jason gets special dispensation because he doesn't like sports. There's a lot of stuff I don't like actually most stuff, like pickles, for instance. But I take a page out of John Wrinkle's parenting book where he caught Jason smoking. What did he do when he first caught you smoking, Jason?
Oh, he bought me a carton of cigarettes.
Exactly. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
Thank you for keeping it light, too, because here's the reason why I apologize, man. Jason has the temperament most likely to be like, all right, I'm out of this shit. I want to keep him around. So, again, just, erring on the side of caution. All right. So, moving along, but this episode, to make amends, sincere amends. I don't fool around when it comes to amends, guys. In our chat, I said, Jason, I want to make it up to you. So this next episode, this is the all merely Jason topic episode. So you get to select both the topics and the music that we will be listening to. So Jason, what is our first topic? Take her away.
Okay, so there are a lot of things I think everybody has a thing that they are secretly into that nobody would guess that they would enjoy. In my case, it's watching videos by celebrity chef Matty Matheson, who is a greasy, gross, loud, obnoxious, humongous asshole who is actually also apparently a really good chef. He's very successful. He's got restaurants. He was an executive producer or something on The Bear, which is a hit TV show. So he's got Emmys now and shit. And he got started. It's on Vice. He did a video called Get You Laid Lasagna. Basically, everything that he makes is like fat and sugar and pounds of everything. Like if he says, I'm going to put a little butter, it's like a half a pound of butter. If he says, I'm going to put a little salt, it's like a fistful of fucking salt. If he's going to put some fresh cracked pep, as he likes to say, it's going to be 15 cranks on the fucking pepper grinder. It's really kind of incredible stuff. And I don't eat beef or pork or anything. Everything he makes is like, he makes a lot of beef and he makes a lot of pork, makes a lot of lamb. And everything he makes looks absolutely disgusting. And then as soon as he's finished making it, he takes whatever it is and shoves half of it into his mouth and then shrieks because it's too hot and he's burned his face. Everything about this guy is absolutely disgusting. Everything about his videos, totally repellent, but I can't stop watching him. And so I thought, hey, let's talk about this because it's weird. It's weird that I watch this stuff because I don't cook. I heat up. I make a salad. But I don't cook. I don't prepare things really. I mean, I can't be bothered.
We've noticed that you can't be bothered, by the way. Just FYI.
All right. So I thought, let's talk about this Matty Matheson guy. And if this needs to blow out into other things like cooking videos of other people's things or whatever, or stuff that you're secretly into, that's fine too, because we don't have to just talk about Matty Matheson. It was merely a suggestion.
Look at that, man. A more jovial Jason. That's great. Yeah, Jason made us watch this, and we all did. And I hate to say it, but the group really took to it, except for me.
I do cook a lot, daily, probably 6 days a week at least. And I cook a lot of meat, and I use a lot of butter and avocado oil and olive oil. I don't use sugar, but I do cook a lot. And, you're watching me. He clearly knows what he's talking about. He's been trained. I kind of looked up his culinary background. It's weird, right? The cooking stuff is what he's good at, and that's fine, but he does it really fast. It's almost like he's not trying to help you learn how to cook. I did take some tips away from watching some of it. Some of the BLT stuff. So I think it's good if you already know how to cook, then you can kind of take some tips away from it.
Point question. What did you learn about a BLT?
So first of all, the bread is super important. Secondly, that you really shouldn't make them when tomatoes and lettuce are out of season. He also had a really interesting way to cook bacon, which to his point wasn't like the best way, but I'd never thought about like laying it in the pan and then cross hatching the bacon across it. But it makes sense because the fat's going to essentially deep fry it. He didn't explain it that way, but it made sense. So yeah, I'm picking up things here and there. The thing that's like kind of like striking about it is his shtick and his voice and his delivery and his ranting is very reminiscent of Tim Dillon. It's pretty much kind of the same thing. It's just not even remotely as funny or unique. So it's just basically him kind of in this nasally fat guy whiny voice, like making jokes, and occasionally it's funny, but it's really not all that funny. I kind of don't understand why Jason likes it, but I kind of do, because it's really freaking bizarre. And I think the best part about it is really the editing. Him and of himself, it's just kind of like low grade everyman humor, but it's really not all that funny or interesting. And
You're right about the editing. That's the primary reason I watch it, is because the production of the shows, of the episodes, is really, really good. The aesthetic is sort of like an Adult Swim thing crossed with Jackass, where it's just somebody who's like doing stupid stunts in the kitchen, but it's actually the guy really actually doing a cooking show, not trying to make fun of cooking shows, And that's what I find entertaining about it, is that it's not ironic. It's actually his sincere personality, not trying to pretend to be something else.
I got to say, I actually enjoyed his videos quite a bit. I subscribed to his channel after Jason presented these topics to us. Like Spoolie, I cook actually quite a bit. And I agreed, like, there's nothing about watching these videos that would aid me in cooking in any way, because it's not as if he stops and goes, okay, 1 tablespoon of this now, it'll be 1 cup of this. Like, you're not getting any of that. He's just moving through everything very quickly and talking a lot. I watch a lot of food content on YouTube, actually, but most of it is people who travel to exotic locations. Like, it'll be a dude who's like, I'm in the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul trying 10 different kinds of doner kebab. Or I feel like who's that guy that used to eat weird stuff? He had a TV show years ago. Zimmerman. Strange foods,
the wrong people.
Strange foods. But anyway, I feel like that guy really influenced a lot of people on YouTube to like do that sort of thing, like travel all over the world and eat weird shit that you've never heard of. And I watch a lot of that. I watch stuff that almost is like ASMR stuff, where it's like these people that go to a restaurant like in North Korea, and this restaurant specializes in one thing. And so you'll get their entire process with no talking, of just onions being sliced and meat being chopped and the stock being made from the beginning of the dish until someone gets a bowl in front of them and they're eating the finished product. This is a lot different than any of those things that I watch, in that none of the things I watch are about food preparation. And I actually really enjoyed it. I think the spectacle of the grossness of the stuff that he cooks is a huge part of what attracts me to it, because, and I keep bringing it up in our chat, that fucking steak sandwich one that I watched makes me feel like I'm going to vomit. It's like so greasy and huge and just oozing with shit. And then to see him actually like put it to his mouth and eat it is vile to me, but like I can't look away. So I genuinely enjoyed that. Just the spectacle is amazing. There are things about it that I didn't particularly enjoy. Like, I found that because the way they edit it, his talking about what he's cooking and like a little anecdote or story he's telling, or his interplay with the crew, makes it hard for me to follow what's going on. Like, I felt like it was so frenetic in its pace that I was just like, my attention span won't allow me to absorb a lot of this. And just, he seems like a tragic figure. Like, we've reached a point where we need to start doing like tattoo interventions with people and just be like, look, it's your body. You can do with it what you want. But when it starts to encroach upon the neck and getting near the face, someone needs to say stop.
Did you notice he has like a tattoo like over here, like up on his hairline, like on either side, like where his hairline's receding?
No, I missed that one.
You got a hat on most of the time, so you wouldn't.
That's true.
I asserted in our chat that this was Jason's revenge for making him be forced to talk about sports. I've had no interest, never watched the Food Network for whatever reason. I cook. I also have zero interest in watching other people cook or teach you how to cook. Cooking shows and travel shows, anything Anthony Bourdain, no. They're these entertainment topics that kind of blew up. They're also like byproducts, I think, of a very spoiled culture. We can't discuss politics without going into an us versus them. But the one thing that everybody can agree on is food is good. This is people's urges to take pictures of their food and post it on social network and dropping 12 hits of acid into it. And then you get this guy. I mean, it makes me long for the days of Julia Child. And I never watched her either, but I loved watching Dan Aykroyd pretend to be her and chop her fucking finger off and bleed and all that shit. So this was my sports. Then also looking at this dude, I have an aversion to how he looks because in working in stand-up comedy, I work with comics that look just like this guy and sound just like this guy. They speak just like this guy. So anytime I see one of these characters, this is not a unique looking person. This is a very common look right now. So when I think Spoolie, or I don't know who mentioned that, yeah, he's kind of doing an everyman shtick, it's working because our biggest everyman in this group is Nathan, and Nathan subscribed. So it worked. If anything, this is the one thing that reminds me that, Jason, for all of his articulation and all that stuff, he's also just a general schmo if he can watch this and stomach it on any level. The editing, it's a YouTube show. My nephew is a good editor. He's a great editor. The most interesting thing of everything that you guys said was that he's an executive producer of The Bear. It makes sense now because I find The Bear, it's overrated. It's one of those shows that, much like his cooking, there's a lot of butter in the actual show. By butter, I mean they have a lot of forced tension. They have one episode that basically is all you need to watch of The Bear, and that's the Christmas episode of season 2. It's just them yelling at each other, and the family breaks down and all this stuff. So learning that this guy is associated with that makes perfect sense because that show feels like just what I saw this guy do in the one video I watched. All he did was make a steak and some potatoes, going on and on about butter, and he has a stick of butter, and he takes a bite out of the stick of butter. Jason mentions that this was something like Adult Swim meets Jackass. I'm like, don't flatter it. It's too stupid. Jackass, to me, is like on an intellectual level compared to this shit. He looks just like one of the new cast. His name's Zackass. Most interesting thing about him to me is just the rhythm of his name, Matty Matheson. It's a cool name. It's the coolest thing about him. I enjoy listening to you guys talk week after week when we record these episodes. And what I do know is I have to do a lot of editing to cut out our uhs and our ums and all that kind of stuff. I dare this dude to make one video with no cuts, no editing, no nothing, just straight one shot. Let's see how dull and uninteresting this motherfucker is when he's just cooking by itself. And you'll see all the smoke and mirrors. One of you said that he was kind of like a redneck something or other. And I was like, no, there's nothing redneck about this dude. I don't care where he's from or where he's seen, because he resembles what I called him a woke neck bouncer. These are the tattoos of somebody who definitely tweets on the right side of history. He's somebody that, says common phrases that are parroted in the culture. And the fact that he has a cooking show that's popular speaks to that. This is one of those things that, like, people with tattoos right now, they might as well be Karens. It's a very mainstream thing now. This is a dude who should be called Jelly Roll. There's another chef show of a guy who looks just like this dude. Oh, no, he's a rapper. Who's the rapper that does an Action Bronson? He did a cooking show, I believe, a little bit. It was like something like Fucking Cooking or some bullshit where he had fuck in the title. When you see how popular these things are, it just makes me long for the sweet, sweet nap of eternity.
As an expert, David, do you think there's cocaine involved in this show?
Mm-mm.
No?
Off camera, I've been referring to this dude as a quote-unquote fat fuck, and to the point that merely Jason was like, geez, Dave, like take it easy. I'm like, he's not a dude that's bothered by it. He's on camera constantly. He's very comfortable with himself. Look, if you're going to clearly show that you're not afraid of being that big, cooking the way you do, and encouraging others to do the same, hats off to you or whatever. But at the same time, I was forced to watch this. I'm good. I'm sport about it. But goddamn, it's 15 minutes. I'm not getting back. It's just one of those things, man. This was the equivalent of like a cooking version of Limp Bizkit. And he probably has a episode where he's cooking a Limp Bizkit. I guarantee it.
It could just be me, but did any of you think he sounded like a high-pitched Brian Doyle Murray?
I'd be surprised if anybody besides me knows, and maybe Jason knows who Brian Doyle Murray is in this. Brian
Doyle Murray is Bill Murray's brother, right? He shows up in a lot of his movies. He has this gravelly sort of voice. And this guy, he occasionally switches into this higher register where he's like shouting. It's got a gravelly aspect to it. And I'm like, he sounds just like Brian Doyle Murray if he was speaking in a higher pitch. It's weird.
My sister had dinner with that dude, with Brian Doyle Murray and his family. Like she was the only one who knew who he was.
So it is just me. Let's just.
No, he was on the SNL cast during some of the dead period of SNL too. Yeah, we all know who fucking Brian Doyle Murray is. Yeah, what's weird is the guy's Canadian and he sounds nothing like a Canadian.
Like when I first started watching his stuff, it was mostly while I was depressed in bed after I lost my job a few years ago. Yeah. And I was terribly ill. Like I couldn't really move around much. I was on oxygen. I mean, I was like dying and unemployed and really depressed. And I just kind of like latched onto watching this guy's stuff while I was lying in bed watching it on my iPad. So I don't know. I don't really have any like associations or anything. I just found it gross and it's kind of like gore cooking,
That's such a good way to put it. Gore cooking. I love that.
The state that you were in, it makes perfect sense now. Like there's, sometimes you just need some complete sugar for the brain. That's the best thing about it, is that it got Jason through a tough time.
Some people derive a lot of pleasure out of eating, and some people derive a lot of pleasure out of cooking, which I can't understand. It's just a utility for me. Some people have their most self-destructive addiction is food. And so there's a lot of emotion that they
shit. I mean, Look at the motherfucker, all right? He is an advertisement for that. I think I said in the chat, he looks like he puts Xanax in his own food, like Xanax or, whatever meds. I don't know what the cool meds are these days with the kids, but
if he was putting Xanax in his food, he'd be talking a whole lot less. I guarantee you that.
Adderall, like you put some Adderall.
That might be closer to what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think the cool medicine these days is ivermectin.
It's so strange to me, the idea of you sitting in bed with like massive heart problems and watching that food.
Yeah, no,
both of those things combined, I would be like, I can't take this right now.
All right, moving on. We have our second of the Merely Jason topics to go into. So Jason, take her away.
It's not a new thing at all, but it's been on my mind lately because I'm very excited about a particular band that's coming around. Band reunions. It seems like more and more these days we see bands jumping on the reunion train for, big one-off shows or even new tours, or in the case of the Jesus Lizard, which I'm really thrilled about, a whole new album to go along with the tour. I can guess what Nathan thinks of band reunions because I think he's probably got a very cynical take on it. I don't know. I'm kind of stoked on the band reunion. Jesus Lizard, Skinny Puppy, when they got back together, I was kind of bummed because I didn't like the music. Then eventually they kind of got good again. Oasis is back. Everybody's excited about Oasis, right?
I believe Limp Bizkit.
I love it.
Jane's Addiction doing it again.
Yeah, there you go. I was just curious whether you feel like, hooray, this band I love is coming back, or boo, this band I hate is back in my line of sight and I hate them too. Or, are they just cashing in, etc. Oh, Bikini Kill. I just went and saw Bikini Kill the other week at the Warfield. It was fantastic, standing around with all the other old people, reminiscing and crying about our teenage years. Boo-hoo. It was really fun.
Spoolie D.
Yeah, it was funny. I was thinking through this topic, and obviously I think a ton about music. I used to play music. I used to host an open mic with Dave and another friend of ours, Kanoa. What happened through all of that live music is you couldn't drag me to a fucking concert of anybody. I don't care who it is. I think it was open mic that really just broke my ability to listen to people play live music. I would still play live music and I enjoy playing. Like Dave had a really weird show in Palo Alto a couple years ago, and that was fun. It wasn't that many people, but I still love playing, but I really don't like live music anymore. I can't fucking sit through it. Of all the bands that I thought through, there's been a ton of reunions. I mean, the only thing I could think of is like something like Roger Waters reuniting with Pink Floyd just for the drama. But other than that, I don't know, everything that I listened to in the past and listen to presently, it's fine. It's like I'm not longing for another Too Much Joy album. It's funny too, bands like Too Much Joy or REM or Anthrax, it's like they're still making music. And so there's never a need to reunite, but there's been I've never had the reaction of, oh, thank God they finally got back together. If it's something like Fleetwood Mac, where there was so much drama around it, it's like, I don't like Fleetwood Mac, and who gives a fuck? I don't have to listen to it. If they want to get together after all that weird shit, whatever happened, who cares? And so not to go all the artist formerly known as Art Lord, on this topic, but it's just like there's so much access to so much music, and there's so much access to, I mean, I love like Dave's music, for instance, but I'm not like, man, I wish Stapleton would crank out another album. You know what I mean? I think there's some damage. Like, I hope Dave can reunite with his drum machine and his bass and his fuzz box, you know? Like, I have that memory of Dave dropping fucking Jungle Love on an entire group of fucking snobby metalheads, and I thought that was the funniest fucking thing. I don't need to see that again. Like, I have that memory, and I have a recording of it. So, yeah, like, fuck reunions. I don't give a shit. Art Lord out.
Oh, are you declaring yourself the new Art Lord? What is this? You know, Art Lord.
With my Art Lord tribute band.
I call you the Beef Lord. Sweet. Band reunions, I'll be perfectly honest, it's weird when they happen. I don't notice. Probably the only reunion I was glad, and I didn't even think of it as a reunion. I knew that they were stopped playing. They're not a band that I think anybody like was like, oh no, they broke up. They're not official, but I'm wearing their shirt. Godflesh. It's two guys and a drum machine. You know, I just noticed they stopped putting out albums. I don't know if there was any official declaration. If you know, Godflesh is really the brainchild of one Justin Broderick, who Jason and I have been a fan of his work in various incarnations. And he had another band called Yesu that he was doing for quite a while, which is just emo Godflesh, really. I've met them both, and they're actually very cool guys, both of them. I couldn't believe that they stopped playing. They were so nice. They reunited, made some albums. There was one band that I fully is a fan of, but again, you wouldn't go see them live. The band Failure, which they stopped playing sometime in the early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s. They stopped, and then I forgot about them. And then in like 2018, I want to say, maybe I got on like a weird, like, I wonder what ever happened with Failure. I looked them up and found out, they reunited in 2014 to play a show, which is online. It's an amazing show. I also learned that Fantastic Planet was a way better album that I dismissed just because it was on Live 105 a lot, or some of the songs on there, and I had a prejudice towards Live 105. And not only that, but they released one album already, and they were just in the process of releasing a second album, and then they've released even a third album since the reunion, and they all sound great. Their newer stuff is actually really, it's good. They've always been a good band, but there hasn't been a band that's broken up. Maybe Jesus Lizard, but they were always a band that, again, they stopped, didn't break up as much as they just stopped because they weren't feeling it. Depending on the band, I don't see Jesus Lizard's reunion as being a cash grab, because if that was really the thing of it, they would have done this a while ago and made more albums and stuff, because they are very popular with their audience. They have a very strong cultish following. I think that like any good band that I've liked has like taken some time off. It's not like Brian Jonestown Massacre, where their whole style was basically, we're going to fight on stage and make a documentary about it, and then we're going to try to reunite. They're doing what everybody's anticipating with the Oasis. There's actual betting. There is gambling you can do on how long that tour will last based on the heated exchanges that the brothers have had in the past. Yeah, a lot of the bands that I like, they're smart about what they do, and they take either hiatuses, maybe indefinite or whatever. They're not putting out press releases that we are done. This is over with. And a lot of it really has to do with just kind of knowing that like they're not feeling it. The crowds ain't really feeling it, diminishing returns. But then these other bands that are larger, I would definitely say there's a cash grab aspect to it. I do not like Limp Bizkit's music. This Limp Bizkit reunion that happened recently, I got a little heat from people because I was seeing people whose music tastes I respect being like, hey man, this Limp Bizkit show is fire. You know, that kind of shit. You know, I got the urge, the way that somebody wants to unfriend somebody over politics. It's like being at McDonald's and taking a picture of like, man, check out this Big Mac. Like, no, I want to fucking see that basic bitch shit from people who I respect. But their performance was good for that audience. They delivered, they put work into it and all that shit. Curious about the Jane's Addiction one. I may think about going. I've never seen them live before, and I've gotten into them more now. But there's a tired aspect to it, too. One of my favorite bands growing up was Danzig. Danzig and Anthrax, two bands, and Megadeth. Those are three bands. I love these bands, and I've never seen them live, and there comes a point where I don't want to see them. Anthrax may be the only one I would go see. With Danzig, he fired all of the players that were my favorite part of his band, So if you don't have John Christ, Erie Vaughn, and Chuck Biscuits in it, or at least it's the very least John Christ and Chuck Biscuits, I don't want to see Danzig. I mean, I like Tommy Victor. He plays for him now, and he's the dude from Prong, but it would feel tired, and it doesn't sound the same. Same with Megadeth. Megadeth I've heard has been hit and miss live these days, and plus he has a Christian thread through shit. So I wouldn't want to see that. I would have rather have tried to go back in time and go see them then, but that's not happening. I don't get upset at seeing reunions. Reunite if you want, whatever.
Who's that band behind you?
When I looked at band reunions, this is a band called Reunion. And there's like 2 or 3 different bands called Reunion, and I just went with these guys because I think when it comes to like bands that announce a reunion, this is what it looks like. It looks like just a bunch of tired old fools. Yeah, you're definitely probably, cash grabbing and all that.
I have kind of mixed feelings on this subject. Skinny Puppy did their final tour late last year, and I read a bunch of interviews with them following that tour. I think a lot of why they're calling it quits is because they don't necessarily get along. But the lead singer, he goes by Nivek Ogre. His real name, I think, is Kevin Ogilvy. I feel silly at this age calling someone Ogre. A lot of what he said in the interview was basically, we're in our 60s now. I don't want to be doing this at this age anymore. And that is a take that I 100% respect when it comes to a lot of musicians. Like, you were talking about Danzig. I saw Danzig like 15 years ago. It was all right. But the clips I see of him now as a 70-year-old man playing Blood Feast, I feel bad for him. I don't find it enjoyable. Punk rock is a youthful, energetic form of music, and watching a geriatric man trot out on stage and do this music makes me sad. And like, there's nothing enjoyable about that. And I feel that way about a lot of the musicians that I grew up listening to. I don't feel ageist in that. It's just a thing for me. Like, aesthetically, watching these guys who I saw 25 years ago when they were young men doing this music, it's deeply unenjoyable for me to watch these guys being these old men who are still doing this because they need the money for some reason. And I've talked about this in the past quite a bit. I think one of the things that hampers our people of our age is the dwelling on nostalgia. It holds us back in a lot of ways. Politically, I think Gen Xers are not very active in the national political scene. We're just kind of these people that are trapped in the past. And part of my dislike of listening to the same old shit was I don't want to relive the 90s. Like, I'll go with Jason to see these noise artists that are completely amusical. Most of it you wouldn't even think of as being music, but it's so challenging to listen to and something new that I've never heard before. I'd rather go that route than listen to the same old shit over and over again at this point in my life. But here's the thing. If you're going to be a band that does reunite and you had this huge period in the 80s or 90s, give the people what they want. It's kind of like what we were talking about with John Cougar Mellencamp. Play the fucking hits. Play the shit that people liked that you did. Fuck your new album. No one wants to hear your new shit.
Wouldn't you want a reunion of Tyrone Green and his reggae band?
They had one song, so they're going to do Kill the White People over and over again. If you're going to do a reunion and you're a classic band like Oasis, if you're some 80s band that had one hit, like if you're Frankie Goes to Hollywood or something, don't be like, we just put out a new album and you're getting all of that, but we'll play 2 of our songs that you know during the encore. It's fucking obnoxious.
I'm going to interject that Failure could, in fact, do the new songs when I saw them. I liked hearing their old songs, too, and I wasn't as familiar with the newer stuff, but when I heard it, the new songs were pretty good, but that's one band.
That's a different type of band, though, because Failure is a band you want to listen like album after album. Like, at least I do. I mean, the first 3 albums were vastly different from one another. They had their own feeling. They were like a complete piece of art. But what Nathan's talking about is fucking Oasis. Like, 99% of people know Wonderwall, and then they're like, you're just sitting there, and it's like, what the fuck is this garbage with these 2 fucking dudes with guitars?
But they also should know who they're dealing with a band like Oasis. That's a band that is constantly, live to be, in their words, cunts.
Is there another song that I'm missing besides Wonderwall?
Yeah, the Champagne Supernova. What's funny is they have one song that I had no idea was them that I actually do like, and it's something about fucking in the bushes is the name of the song. I was like, holy shit, the song, even the title's not bad. It's funny because it's a rockin' jam used in the movie Snatch, and it's in some other movies, but it's most notably used in Snatch. Brad Pitt Mickey character comes out to the boxing ring, and they got this down, 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 down. That's Oasis. And I was like, holy shit. They sound like a badass bar band right here. So, Jason, your thoughts on it?
It's contextual. Depending on the band, if I like the band, I want to see them get back together and do some new shit. Sure, yeah, that'd be great. But then, like, when the Pixies got back together, Mario wanted to go see him, and I was like, well, I don't know. I kind of don't need to see them because, like, I've listened to so much Pixies that, like, I know those songs. I'm kind of done. I don't need any more Pixies. Thank you. The songs that they put out are great. The new Pixie shit, I don't know. I tried giving it a shot. I just couldn't get into it. It just sounded like imitation, like reheated Pixies, and it just, I don't know. Something was missing. Well, part of what's missing is Kim Deal. Breeders, everything Breeders has done. It's been fantastic. The Amps, fantastic. Her new solo album seems to be like it's going to be pretty good. So
they got a good replacement too. Isn't that Paz chick or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't listened to anything. The last time I heard any Pixies was when they had the first bassist they had that they kicked out of the band for stage diving at the end of the show. She jumped off stage and they said, "You're out of here. We can't have you showboating. We're the draw." And then they got Paz or whatever her name is.
She's from A Perfect Circle. That's the only reason why I know her, and I had a little hint of a crush on her. So
I see. You know, like I said, I just went to the Bikini Kill show, which was outstanding. I don't know. Bands can get back together or not.
And you can choose to go see them or not.
When you mentioned Misfits, Nathan, clearly a pure cash grab. And honestly, they looked ridiculous. I mean, they looked awful. And they're like full like Misfits gear and everything, but those songs are still fucking great.
I agree. It's just visually, I struggle with it. I picture my grandpa when he was 70, and to imagine my grandpa coming out in a jacket with huge spikes on it and singing punk rock songs, it just like, I know that's not everybody, but just, it's like when dudes hit a certain age, they just look fucking washed. It's sad. That's all.
That's why I always crack up watching adults look forward more to Halloween than their own kids. Every year, there's like people like, "Oh, Halloween's coming! Oh my god!" I'm like, "You're a parent, dude. Like the adults, you know, you're supposed to have an office Halloween party or something like that. But motherfuckers who look forward to Halloween, like they're the ones going trick or treating. Like, no, dude, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, you know. But I try not to dampen anybody's spirit over it. It's just, yeah, that's." Spoolie, do you really have a strong opinion that you need to say about Reunion, or is this just a joke?
I think the answer is no. I was gonna say real quick, the one thing looking back through the entire history of like listening to music, I would have liked a second Pigeon album.
There are 2 Pigeon albums, okay. Doofus.
So that invalidates my point. I'd like you to send me a link to the second Pigeon album. Thanks, I'm done.
Happy to. Midcore Crush. All right, so moving on.
Thanks, Dave.
Up next, good discussion on both of Jason's topics. If you notice, even the topic I wasn't that into, trying to just merely set an example of showing willingness when
I'm glad you don't hold grudges, Dave. That's one of the great things about you.
What was that? I'm glad I don't hold grudges.
I'm glad you don't hold grudges. That's one of the great things about
I flat out do. We all know this. This is last section. We got our song, but it's not just a song. It's a performance. Jason?
Recently, Chaka Khan did a Tiny Desk concert for NPR. I put it on when Harry was here, my friend Harry, and he made me take it off after the first song because he was like, okay, I can't watch any more of this because he's like, I'm getting too emotional. And I was like, oh, okay. So I stopped it. And then after he left, I played the rest of it, and then I got emotional because it was a powerful ass performance. Just really, really good. I mean, I got chills when she hit the first low note in Tell Me Something Good. Like in the first like minute of the song, I was just like, whoa, that was fucking amazing. I sent it to you guys, and then I think Dave said maybe we should do this as our next song or whatever. So that's why we're doing it. Because otherwise I was going to choose a different song. But since Dave responded to it, I said, well, let's do that for our song then. So Chaka Khan. She's a legend. She's amazing. She's done a million songs that everybody knows. And she played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She did 7 songs for this NPR Tiny Desk concert. And apparently it was just a little too much for some of us to listen to all at once.
Cool. Thank you, Jason. Yeah. I think I was the one who suggested it. It was just, it was a good performance, and I was like, Jason's responding. It's just I'm trying to, anything that brings you enthusiasm. I'm like, let's nurture this motherfucker. So
I'm dead inside. Thank you for watering my plants.
There you go. Right on. That's wow.
Ew.
Yeah, no, that's really
You take the guy out of porn, but you can't take the porn out of the guy.
Yeah, man. Jesus Christ. I'd rather smother it in butter. All right, so let's go around.
I grew up with a lot of her music, and I really like a lot of her music, especially like her early stuff when she was with the band Rufus. Great funk music. I like funk a lot. And so if I was going to listen to some of her music, like put on some jams, like that would be the stuff I would choose to listen to. Her music into the 80s, her solo stuff, sort of mirrors a lot of what R&B turned into in the 80s and 90s, where it became like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, where it's about the vocal trickery. It's about all those long notes, I guess, like in like American Idol parlance, they would call it runs or whatever. But I have mixed feelings about this performance. I love some of the songs, but I don't know if I like hearing them live. I felt overwhelmed by this. I had to stop it like 2 or 3 times and go back to it because to me it seemed like she was bellowing the entire performance. I'm not a big enough R&B guy to be able to like take in like a 35-minute performance of it. Like, so like I was like, oof, I got to stop this for a little while and come back to it. Tell Me Something Good, Ain't Nobody. Those were the 2 songs I liked the most of the entire performance. The rest of it, I was kind of like I just kind of wanted to fast forward through them, but I stuck it out and everything. And I thought I found the very long part where she introduced the band to be kind of funny too, just because it seemed like she was forgetting the names of people. Like she mentioned the drummer and mentioned that he was from DC, but then didn't say his name and didn't say, give it up for him. And like, so like the background singers were sort of like chiming in, like to like remind her of what everyone's name is. And like right around the 20-minute mark, I pointed out to you guys that the bass player turns around and covers their mic, like all annoyed, like stop saying shit. And one of the girls just kind of swats him away, like get the fuck out of here kind of thing. I thought that was hilarious. Overall, I'm glad you shared this video with us because I'd never heard of Tiny Desk until this video. So from that point, I really appreciate it because these are fun performances to watch.
Yeah, there's some good ones like Guar and Cypress Hill and Wu-Tang.
The Devo one was really good.
Devo one was really good too. Yeah, and it was short, perfect length for you, bud. Yeah, I'm also kind of taking issue because I there wasn't any of this criticism. All I remember was when Jason popped the link or told us about it, we were all like, whoa, this is really good. And
well, that's because I didn't watch past the first song on the first run through.
Still, just saying, can't be too much of a good thing, I guess, but I guess there can be. Too much butter in this performance. So, Spoolie?
First of all, fuck NPR. It's a grift. It's not public radio. It's fucking national propaganda. And they spend apparently all their money on their building in San Francisco, which Nathan exposed them to. I stopped donating to them immediately. I'd been donating to them for close to like 25 years. I'm very disappointed. Second of all, this desk is not tiny. I was going to make some stupid joke. It's like, oh, well, it's a regular sized desk. Haha, Chaka Khan's a big girl. But the desk's fucking huge. It's not even like a normal sized desk. It's like a fucking double wide, like back to back, like double L shaped desk. That thing's fucking huge. And that's before we even get to the fucking music. But like this entire thing's like NPR is a fucking fraud. And so is this fucking tiny desk concept. That's a lot of motherfuckers. Like they could have used a smaller desk for this like massive fucking influx of humanity into this one fucking small room. And I'll admit, like, this isn't my type of music. Somewhere between smooth jazz and R&B. I mean, does he need a fucking 6-string bass? Like, you tell me, and this is an actual question, Dave. Does this dude need fucking 6 strings for this shit?
It was funny when you mentioned that because I was thinking of the bass player of Alien Ant Farm and Jason making fun of that bass. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's one of the Alien Ant Farm basses, right?
It was like that guy from ZZ Top almost.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of pomp and circumstance. The background singers were perfect. I would say the background singing was utterly perfect. I didn't actually realize like Through the Fire was one of her songs, and I really enjoyed that. I would say that was a highlight of this until it got into the middle of it and just kind of like, I don't know, it just got like discursive and jammy and just like the Grateful Dead fucking tribute in the middle of Through the Fire. Every Woman's iconic. That's a great song. Why the fuck she didn't do like the one that's the Mellencamp version is like No I Feel For You? Like what the actual fuck? Like if you want to think about what like Chaka Khan word association, it's I Feel For You and the whole like Chaka Khan like rap guy. The other songs to me sounded very similar. The hooks are really good on most of the songs, like Tell Me Something Good, but the verses are just boring and like repetitive. The singing, like, for her, it was all right. It was kind of cool to watch. That drummer from DC, he actually looked like he was going into like a diabetic coma until she started mentioning, not him apparently, but his hometown, which I'm thinking that's where they were performing from. But he literally looked like he was about to pass out. And then juxtaposed to the other, because God knows you need two fucking percussionists. The other guy looked like he was just fucking on happy pills. That guy was just having the best time of his fucking life.
Yeah.
Nice to have work when you're a percussionist. Okay, they don't. It's not many people have the budget for them.
And he was working too. Did you see? I mean, like every 5 seconds, he was grabbing some new implement.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a job.
Yeah, no, I mean, fucking times have been tough since they closed fucking Club Babalu, like back in the fucking 60s.
Sorry.
And as if she just spit in my fucking face with their big ass desk. What does she break out like this fucking the world's tiniest fan? Just like fucking rubbing our noses in it. Just like, la la la, here's my fucking tiny fan and my big ass mother. Look how many fucking pencils are on that big ass desk behind you. It's fucking absurd. So anyways, fuck NPR. And fuck that big ass desk. This was fine. I wouldn't listen to it again on purpose, but I did listen to the whole thing. And Through the Fire was good until it wasn't. And next time, play fucking I Feel For You, for Christ's sakes.
Interesting. All this ire all of a sudden when, again, the chat was so positive when we first got introduced to it. But my mom watches these shows, and I just want to say, Mom, you should check this out. I think you'll dig it. Chaka Khan, what's funny is I would always get her mixed up with who's the drummer bitch that also sang?
Sheila Easton?
Sheila E. I would get these two mixed up for no reason because I'm not a particular fan of either. They wrote a lot of hits, and I think Sheila E. had something to do with Prince maybe at some point. I don't fucking know.
Yeah,
but
I just combined Sheena Easton and Sheila E.
You did, yeah.
I did, whatever. They're all. I mean, like who? And they're
let's just call all three of them Apollonia and be done with it.
Chaka E, E, whatever the fuck. Yeah, Apollonia. I just watched Purple Rain for the first time recently too.
Good movie.
Terrible fucking movie.
Great movie.
I love watching that movie. That movie's rough.
I love watching someone beat the shit out of Prince. You kidding me?
Morris Day was the only good part of it. He's barely in it. But anyway, back to Chaka. Chaka Khan is I Feel For You is the song where they go, everybody Chaka Khan, everybody. I because that is a song that I'm like, did she even make that, or did they just like pay homage to her in that song? It is her. So that's I Feel For You. I Feel For You. Okay, so I got it. I think the reason they didn't do that song, that's a very electronic song, maybe. I don't know if it translates as well.
I feel like it's kind of a novelty song for her and sort of a departure from what she usually does.
Yeah, it's sort of like ZZ Top doing a lot of their 80s trickery after Eliminator. They started messing a lot with electronics, and that shit don't fucking sound good. But that was a hit. Yeah, it is kind of a novelty hit.
I mean, they have two fucking keyboards.
Well, they would also need a guy who's going Chaka Khan, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know where they would find a guy who could pull that off. Like, you just pulled it off.
They would need an organic person to do that. It would just be a guy that you hire. Like the percussionist would have to do double duty while he's sitting there, Chaka Khan, everybody. I mean,
give the drummer a whatchamacallit and he could probably do it.
They got to focus. Nobody was willing to step up to Chaka Khan, everybody. I thought it was, it was very cool. If you watch these tiny desks, it's where they're stripped down performances. It's like less volume, less. Like if you notice, Chaka, that mic, I don't even think that mic is turned on in front of her. She is so fucking loud. And I don't think she knew what to do with her hands a lot while she was performing, because normally you're holding the microphone. But if you are aware, we talked about she was one in the Hall of Fame of toughest national anthems to get through. This is kind of on brand with her very indulgent kind of thing. And like it's very good until like there was only one part that I felt was kind of that when I watched it again recently, I noticed that the beginning of Ain't Nobody was a little like there was almost the wrong note in the very beginning or something, and so when I heard this, I was like, whoa, get back on the road there, Chaka, real quick. And she did. Nathan pointed out the introduction of the band, it sounded like me on this show doing long intros, taking a long time, giving a lot of backstory, and yeah, it seems like she's buying time for trying to remember who the name of her band member is that she can't remember. So when the band points it out, she's Chaka Khan. I imagine she's a bit of a diva. So I think the bass player was trying to just protect the everybody's job, because it's like nobody tells Chaka what she needs to do, and don't, if she's going to forget the name, you let her forget the name. All right, that's what Chaka does. But the performances, it was cool. I thought, probably could have just done the last two songs, and less is more. But if you really are into Chaka, this is a great thing. If you're not into Chaka, or I barely listen to her that much, I enjoyed it as well. So, and I think my mom would enjoy it very much. Just fast forward through the band intros, Mom. So there you go. Jason, once again, you're just watching us.
I already said what I had to say about it when I introduced it.
You kind of introduced it. I don't know if I heard your thoughts, but then again, I'm going on very minimal sleep.
Did you have a favorite song out of the entire performance?
For sure, Tell Me Something Good. Like, I keep turning it back on just for the first song. It's so amazing. I really enjoyed Sweet Thing, even though like she barely sang it because the audience was singing it. I thought that was really cute.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did.
That was actually really kind of a sweet thing. Ain't Nobody was really good. I mean, all of it was just fantastic. But honestly, Tell Me Something Good. That is just the whole band just sounds fucking phenomenal through that song, especially. Like, it was just.
Is that called a talk box that the guitarist was using?
Yeah. So where you tube in your mouth, you're just like forming words with your mouth. You're not saying anything, and so the guitar is actually making the sounds of the vowels. It's kind of cool. It's cool. Invented.
Yeah, we needed something. Jason told us something good. And that was to check out this Tiny Desk.
Oh, also, I thought it was really cool. Like, I don't know if you noticed, the keyboard player was like, he had that thing around his neck. He had like, it was like an air controller, so he could like blow into the thing, and like the keyboard would then play like as if it were a trumpet.
I thought he just needed oxygen. I thought he needed oxygen.
No, it was a breath controller, so he could like blow, and it would like have the same kind of quality as a trumpet sound. It was really
seems
cool.
so stereotypical. You're going to get a synth guy. He's got to be from Germany.
Right. But wait a minute, isn't he a black dude from Germany?
She said he was from Germany.
Are you unfamiliar with Milli Vanilli?
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. No, I mean, I'm just saying. It's rare.
They can do that.
Cool. Anyway, but yeah, it was a fun performance to enjoy. But yeah, check out other Tiny Desk stuff. You probably got this. There might be a band you like that's done a Tiny Desk.
The Cypress Hill one, like you said, the Cypress Hill one was fucking great.
Yeah.
The Breeders one's really good. The Guar one is funny. Yeah.
Wu-Tang was good too.
A whole bunch of good ones. And there's a bunch of shit that nobody cares about, or that none of us would really care about. Mm-hmm. But if you go through, there's some good bands playing on there.
Beyond that, don't listen to NPR. Don't donate to your public radio station. It's all a grift, but you can watch Tiny Desk.
You do what you want with your money, people. All right? Don't listen to Spoolie D. Well, cool. All right. Well, ending on a positive note for once. This is good time. Well, we end on positive notes. A lot of times I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm a little sleep. Gonna need a nap after this. So, all right. Well, that is our show, everybody. Oh, yes, Jason.
I have one last thing I'd like to say for posterity. Tomorrow is Mean Dave's birthday, so happy birthday, Mean Dave.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
But that's tomorrow in the recording universe, and this episode will be out in 2 weeks. So it'll actually be closer to my clean time birthday.
Oh, hey. So say happy birthday in the comments below.
Yes.
I'm editing this the fuck out. What are you talking about?
Don't do that. Come on.
I don't need my birthday's my business. All right, so that's our show, everybody. I want to thank Spoolie D for his candor in spite of being forced to adhere to NPR. Nathan Nation, thank you, and thank you once again, and special treatment. It is warranted here. To Merely Jason. Yeah, look at the camera, man. Stop looking at your phone. Merely Jason for, again, not only dealing with, it wasn't just that it was some tough topics. Jason was going through a little bit of a tough time, and not only that, we milked some great comedy out of it, but I don't like to do so at Jason's expense. God damn it. It's not fun to put your friends through hell for laughs.
Unless it's me.
Yeah, no, that's not even that fun, because there's always going to be retaliation. You are a karma force. But yes, so Merely Jason, thank you for these topics, regardless of the Matty Matheson aversion that I have. Good stuff. Good to expand your horizons. So thank you, our audience. for enjoying these shows and for checking them out, just keeping us steady. So this is 30. Episode 30, guys. Right on. And we'll be back. More topics, more discussions, more nonsense, less Chaka Khan. You know, nothing against that, just saying, you know. We won't be back next week. All right. Later.
Peace.